What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Junkies Podcast. Today's episode is an in-person crosspod between Max Saran from the CWB Association Podcast, Kevin Johnson from the Welding Business Owners Podcast, and myself. We recorded this episode in front of a live studio audience at FabTech Chicago 2023. We're going to be splitting this episode up with the Junkies Podcast dropping the first portion of the episode. Kevin is going to be releasing the second part, and Max will be dropping the third part, wrapping things up with a Q&A session from the audience. It was a really cool experience to link up with Max and Kevin once again for the first annual Podcasters Forum at FabTech. Hopefully we can do this once the show comes to Orlando in 2024. I hope you all enjoy this collaboration. We'll get right into the episode after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys. You've heard all about Rockmount's amazing rods and wires, but did you know they carry a full line of off-trail hoods and papper systems? As welders, we operate in some of the toughest environments, welding on steel, aluminum, and other base metals, cutting, grinding, blending, and polishing. Everything we do produces either dust, particulates, or fumes. Protect your lungs and your career by investing in the highest quality equipment. I recently purchased a Swiss Air system from Rockmount that's made by Optrel. With all the welding, cutting, and grinding I'm either doing myself or in the vicinity of, I finally broke down and pulled the trigger on a papper system to give myself more protection while performing the work that I love. Rockmount is the national demonstration partner of Optrel. You can contact them today to schedule a demo for your shop to see if their hoods and papper systems are right for you and your team. And as always, if you buy $250 or more on rockmountwelding.com, you can get a free 1-pound tube of Tartan AAA when you use AJP at checkout. Get the job done right the first time, every time with Rockmount. We're also brought to you by CK Worldwide. Are you tired of settling for subpar TIG welding equipment? Look no further than CK Worldwide, the industry leader in innovative and reliable TIG welding solutions. CK has more patents on product design and improvements than anyone else, and they set the standard for TIG welding. Whether you're a professional welder or a welding hobbyist, their exclusive innovations like gas saver kits, max flow water cooling technology, wedge collets, they make your TIG welding process smoother and more efficient than ever before. And now, CK is excited to announce the launch of their new MT375, a 375 amp AC/DC TIG welder with a dual water pump cooler, cart, torch package, and more. This new powerful welding machine is packed with a newly patented 2-in-1 steady grip foot pedal that incorporates a fingertip control into a foot pedal for a variety of different applications. Don't settle for subpar equipment. Choose CK Worldwide to experience quality and performance. With a reputation built on decades of experience and dedication to innovation, CK Worldwide is the only choice for top-of-the-line TIG welding equipment. Visit ckworldwide.com and use the Find a Dealer tab to locate a dealer closest to you. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather. Dive into the world of Outlaw Leather, where it's not just about crafting welding accessories, but fashioning quality gear for your welding journey. Each item they produce tells a tale, meticulously handcrafted for those who dare to stand out. Embrace the fusion of passion and precision with Outlaw's unique leather welding hoods, offering unmatched protection with a touch that resonates your journey. Revel in unparalleled comfort with their leather arm pads, a testament to their dedication in blending practicality with craftsmanship. And for our iron workers out there that are shaping the world, find your perfect match in bolt bags, rod pouches, and scabbards. Every tool deserves its spot, and with Outlaw's keen eye for attention to detail, you won't miss a beat. And Outlaw has a deal exclusively for Junkies Podcast listeners. You can enjoy 15% discount off all in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Junkies in the discount box at checkout when you shop outlawleather.com. Step into a legacy with Outlaw Leather. All right, y'all know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 299 of the Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Welcome today, everybody, to our first ever podcasters forum here at FabTech Chicago. We're super excited to have the three podcasters, us together. Me, Max Strong, CWB Association Podcast. We got Jason Beck from the Arc Junkies, and we got Kevin Johnson from Welding Business Online Podcast, right?
Welding Business Owners Podcast.
There we go.
Close
All right.
enough. I've been screwing that up all week.
I know.
I was like, oh yeah, I got a Crosspod with Max with Welding Business Owner.
It's like a sentence, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we decided, we've been doing this online as a Crosspod for a while, and we decided to do something live here at FabTech and have an audience so that there can be questions. So we're going to have a lot of fun, right?
Oh yeah, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, man.
All right. So how are we going to kick this off? Who's going to lay out the first question, and who's going to ask what?
I think we just kick it off like, how has the show been? I mean, it's pretty much, well, it's my last day here.
Yeah, I'm leaving Friday. I went for the long haul. When do you leave, Kevin?
Thursday.
Thursday. So let's start with you. How's the show been for you so far this week?
Well, FabTech's never bad, really. For the longest time I've been coming here, it's like half to see the show, half to see my friends. Now, we kind of have an idea of what we want to buy, and now it's more like I'm just 3/4 away to here to see my friends. So we've been checking out plasma tubing profilers and press brakes and laser scanners, and not ready to buy anything yet, but we've got a pretty good idea where we're going for it.
Did you see the plasma cutting cobot over there at Universal Robots?
Plasma cutting cobot.
So I mean, you can cut
can
cut square tube, pipe, bevel, everything. It's literally a cobot arm, and you just program it to cut whatever. I mean, you can mount it to an I-beam, cut, cope, notch, shape.
I didn't.
It's pretty slick. Go check that out. It's wrapped in like aluminum foil, kind of.
Yeah,
nice.
I saw that.
Yeah, but it's a plasma cutting head right on the cobot arm.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Some of them do have the plasma cutting head on an arm in like an enclosure
On
the
a
beam.
chassis.
Yeah, and it comes in and out
Gentry,
like that.
yeah.
That's like the Python X from Lincoln. It was like a whole beamline system, but this one, like, you can pick it up and move it wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah, my
Or move it around
college
the shop.
back in Regina got the Python last year. It's pretty cool, but it's amazing. We went from like 1-axis, 2-axis, 3-axis, 4-axis, 5-axis, 6-axis, and now cobot. It's like axes are out the window. 360 degrees, do what you
No,
want.
because now they're using cobots with like a 6-axis machine.
Oh, man.
So they got that on demo over there too.
Omni-axis.
That's probably one of the coolest things that I've seen at this show this week. Only because somebody actually reached out and asked a question if they put plasma cutting attachments on a cobot arm, and I was like, I don't see the value in that until I walked on the show floor, and I was like, sure, shit, they got it, and yeah, there's actually several applications for it.
So, Kevin, for you, when you're coming out here and you're looking at these tools, you've been coming for a few years. How do you feel the prices are holding? Are things moving around? Is something that was out of reach 5 years ago, perhaps in reach now?
Oh yeah, I feel like every year I come, my stretch dream goals, it's like, all right, well, that's going to be like, I feel like it's so much further away, and every year that I come, it's more attainable. It's like, all right, well, that $60,000 machine that I saw a year ago, like I'm looking for that now, like 60 grand, like we can do that. And it's like, well, and then other things are $150,000, $200,000. It's like, well, that's not that far off. Like that's attainable. You know what I mean? Like if you look at it as an investment. But I remember coming back 2018, it was all like, my budget was like going to buy hand tools from Fireball. Like that was it. And then now I'm
Check
like,
out this sweet die grinder.
yeah,
He
right,
makes some cool
exactly.
shit,
like a couple $100 and I'm done. Now I'm like 125, 150. Like that's doable. Like this might happen. So as far as pricing for everything, it's you never get hard pricing here. It's always kind of like ballpark, and it's still kind of the same ballpark. Some of the stuff going up, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Yeah.
But that's kind of to be expected. Prices never going back down. So
Yeah.
How's the show been for you, buddy?
It's been good. It's been busy, and I only have myself to blame because I actually wrote my own schedule this year. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, FabTech's always, like I said, he comes here for his friends. I do too. It's like a big family reunion every year. I mean, you get to hang out with us at the president's reception for AWS. We had the Weld-Porn Blue Demon meetup last night. We did Arcs and Ales. Tonight we're going out to dinner.
A bunch of Kitty O'Shea's out there.
A bunch of shitty O'K's, Kitty O'Shea's. Yeah. That I do like that place.
Yeah, we tried the piano bar. We went to that Redhead piano bar. Anyone here try that?
yeah, we did that.
Yeah, that was a
Monday
good
night.
time. That was a good time. No, we were there yesterday, 2 days ago. I don't even know what's going on.
I think it was
2
the
days
night
ago.
of the president's reception.
Yeah,
it was Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you shot us a text message. Yeah, but it's been a good show. I haven't had a whole a lot of time to go check out the show floor, which I kind of regret not putting that into my schedule. But I did see some cool stuff. ESOP actually has some really cool technology that they unveiled this year with their Warrior platform. The user interface is actually on the inside of the machine. And then there's just a couple of little knobs and then the process buttons on the exterior. But you can load WPSs in there, keep your welders like right within parameters. You can they got a whole integrated smart technology for like digital solutions where you can track and manage every arc on time, gas consumption, deposition rates, like the whole 9 yards. If you're a data dork and you're trying to figure out where are we making the waste, where's the lost time, as they say in the Japanese culture, muda, for the Six Sigma and all that. Where is all of our money going? Now you can actually track and see that. So I told the guy you could also use that for like employee management. Like if you want to raise, justify it. Oh, well, you increased your arc on time 20% this week. Okay, you're actually doing something good. Or you can kind of use that for punitive, like, Kevin, man, you're only doing 5% this week. Like, get your shit together.
Lacking.
Yeah, so I mean, but it's cool that you can track all that data and everything and have access to that. And then it's also going to help you with your bidding. And I think to remain competitive in this market in welding, you're going to have to be competitive. You're going to have to know how much weld wire am I putting in, what's it cost, how many inches per minute, what are my employees doing, like all that stuff. And the cool thing is they have it's like a universal box or whatever. You hook it up to any welding machine. You could have Lincoln, Miller, Everlast, Fronius, whatever. You just hook it up to the terminals, and it tracks everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know that years ago I read, a couple of years ago, I read a report about how they went through welders and welders shop, and they asked them, how often do you think you weld in a day? You got 8-hour day? How much time do you think you're pulling the trigger? And everyone's like, oh, like 6 hours or 6.5 hours for sure, outside of lunch and a break, and like nose to the grind. So, and it wasn't like in a punitive sense, like they were trying to figure out, like, what do you see yourself as an employee? And then they actually, Lincoln had you could hook them up through Wi-Fi and check Archon with the STT machines. And then STT came in and they did a whole thing on a bank of 40 welders. And the Archon time was anywhere from 20 to 35%. That's it.
30% high.
Yeah, and the 30 to 35 is like you got a lean running shop. And you think about an 8-hour day, you're only welding 2.5 to 3 hours a day. That's it. That's what you're getting. That's a good day. Like it's crazy. When you start getting into the lean, Six Sigma and all that stuff, like you really start seeing those losses. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, just you think about all the wasted movements. If I got to do the same thing 3, 4, 5 times, or like walk across the shop to pick something up to bring it back over to where I'm working at, every one of those steps is lost time. Yeah. Well, okay, I need to get somebody to stack all the parts behind me, so I just have to turn around, grab it, slap it together, tack it up, weld it out. I mean, that's for like production stuff. But if you're doing like on-site fabrication, you're doing custom fabrication work, that technology is probably not going to be great for you. But if you're doing large-scale manufacturing and heavy industry, it makes sense in that application.
I think it still helps, because I think that at that point it's like the technology can step in. Because if you're out in the field and you got a cracked bucket, an excavator bucket got stuck in the ground, you have to rip it out like a jerk, and you got to pull this thing together. Having a hydraulic, ram versus a come along and 2 anchors, right? Technology can save you a pile of hours. So, how do we translate some of the technology that's out there into the field, which I find we're not doing enough. I worked in the mining industry most of my life, and I don't see a lot of tech in the mines, not yet. And I come to FabTech, I see all this amazing tech, and I'm like, why is this is totally doable underground. It would save so much time. But it's like that investment's not getting made. Like that connection's not happening.
Think about like setting up an engine drive on a job site. You got to, every time I got to walk back and forth to the machine to readjust my settings, that's time wasted, time lost. And then other things are popping up along your little journey, so now you're getting sidetracked, especially if you're like me and you get ADD and like you see a squirrel and like next thing you know, what the hell was I doing? You forget to set your machine and then you go back up but like why not put that technology into a cell phone and just put a receiver on the front of that machine? You can just port right in, Android, iOS. I mean, everything runs off of a cell phone nowadays. You shouldn't need a special remote or like cross-link technology where you're running an additional cord out, 300 feet to be able to do it.
With your company, like your job, like you're the business owner here. We're all business owners, but that's what we brought you on for your speciality today.
So I really relate with that, because even in a small shop, cutting that inefficiency out is like that inefficiency is everywhere. It's we wouldn't track wire or arc on time and things like that, but it's can you move the cart two steps closer? Because if you're doing 400 parts, that's 800 steps extra that you're taking when you could just be there, turn to your right, get it, punch it, turn to your left, and instead of stacking it on a cart, maybe you're stacking it on the final pallet, or maybe you're hanging it on the cart that it's going to be blasted and powder coated on. And it's things like that. It's always a constant battle. But now with the technology of making the small shops just doing more with less, that implementation of, we're a shop of 5, 6, 7 guys. Well, I'm going to spend $100,000 on a tubing processor because cutting with a bandsaw and putting it in a coper is just the old technology. And I've been saying this for a while. It's back in a decade ago, if you had a plasma table in your shop, that was good. You know what I mean? For a shop our size, that was like you were on the cutting edge. Now, if you don't have a plasma table in your shop now, you're behind on the times. So what does that look like for shops like us going into the future? Because this all has kind of become, the technology's been out there, but now it's becoming affordable for smaller shops like us.
Yeah, for sure.
So does the future for us look like a small laser table rather than plasma? Because in a 15, 20 years, we're going to look back and be like, oh, you have a plasma table? Like, that is old hat. Why don't you have a laser table?
That's what it is right now. I mean, most people that, just recently invested into a plasma system, well, that's kind of old school, man. Like, why aren't you running a CO2 laser? But I mean, that technology, again, that's becoming more affordable as well.
Yeah. It's in range for companies like us. And, what does that look like with whatever you do? For us, stairs and rails, it's the plasma tubing processor. Do we still have to lay out sheets and, we still have to draw it? Like, what does that look like? We're looking at 3D scanners because, man, I can't tell you how many times I've taken, we're fixing one right now. The railing that I bombed the measurements on, and we had to fix it because I missed the measurement and we drew it wrong. Well, the Leica was a 360 BLK, like the handheld scanner where you can go out there. It's like $25,000. You set it up, you scan it. It has a 3D view within it's accurate to like a 16th of an inch and 300 feet.
Yeah, it's insane.
You go out there, you scan it. You don't have to. You don't even pull tape. You set it up. You talk to the customer, and you leave. You know what I mean? So, for $25,000, that seems like a really good investment to not have to do a rail. I mean, the rail we're redoing is small, but
let's say it was something someone asked for 100 of them.
Yeah.
And you got the initial measurement wrong, right?
My gosh, I could have bought 4 of them then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or instead of waiting on as-built, you've got actual dimensions to work off of right there. You just drop it up in the field, prop it up, let it scan, do all its thing. Then you can come back and you can pull prints and draw right into that system, and you can see what it's actually going to look like. And have you talked with Charles McCarthy?
Oh, yeah.
He's running one right down now, like just down the road from our shop. He says he freaking loves it. It's a game changer. He regrets not buying it sooner.
Yeah. So that's the way we're looking to go. And honestly, so that's the technology now for a shop our size. What does it look like in a decade? I have a vision of the LiDAR sensors in your phones. They're cool. They can 3D scan things, but they're not that accurate.
Yeah.
Well,
and things like water transparency throws it way off.
Yeah. So what does that look like in a decade when the technology's better? Well, guess what? I don't even have to go there. They can scan their porch. They can scan their railing with their phone, send it to me. I build it in our software. I send them a picture back real time of as built in, what it's going to look like on their porch. And they say, all right, go. You know what I mean? What does that look like in 10 years? Because I think that's the way, I think for small stuff, because for us, going out and doing field measurements, I have to charge for that. And because we just do. Well, what if I don't have to charge for field measurements? That brings the cost down for everybody. We can do more, and it's just sitting on the computer, and they get to visualize it right then and there.
The customer can see exactly what they're going to get before you're like, oh yeah, I'm done, and then they look at you and be like, that's not what I had in mind.
Yeah, exactly.
So you get that out of the way too,
and you don't have, and it saves you a couple hours of going out there meeting with. I mean, there is a value to meeting and shaking somebody's hand, but what does that look like for growth? You know what I mean? You have to have sales guys go out there. They cost money. Well, can you scale up and start doing a lot more volume by, all right, it's maybe it's a little less personal, but the person is real price conscious. They want a rail for the cheapest that they can do. They don't care about you. They just want that rail cheaper.
It's a product.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? We can do that for you. You know.
Now, as the old man and educator, former educator, there's a cringe there. There's a cringe there when we say, you know what, you don't have to learn how to use a tape measure anymore. There's just this machine that you can go out there and just do it, and it's done. And it starts to become a weird pressure between generations, educators, and industry. Whereas, what do we want to teach them? What do they actually need to know? Because technology can do it already. So, you got a school, you got students rolling through. I'm sure learning to read a tape measure is a basic skill that
Day one.
Right? Like, you got to learn to do that. And here we are looking at machines saying, like, actually, you may not ever need that again.
He doesn't need the tape measure to go out there and pull field measurements,
right.
But I'm going to need that tape measure to go back to the shop and build it.
Well, unless you got the 3D projector that throws the blueprints down on the table that matches right up to that machine.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Workbench Pros. Right now, Workbench Pros is running an end-of-the-year special on strong hand tool tables and fixturing kits. Now through the end of the year, you can get 5% off and get free shipping on Build Pro Alpha tables and 10% off Build Pro Max tables and fixturing kits, including my favorite table for the at-home fabricator and small business, the Rhino Cart. Do you have any idea how much shipping costs right now? It's nuts, so save some money while you can and treat yourself this year with a new table and some fixturing tools from BuildPro.com. We're also brought to you by Everlast Welders. After several years of research, customer input, and technological design work, Everlast has developed and released their new top-tier Typhoon class of TIG and stick welders. Designed to compete head-to-head with the next generation of elite AC and DC TIG and stick welding machines. The Typhoon 230 offers one of the best combinations of features and specifications for true next-level performance. It runs off 110 and 230 volt. It features AC and DC TIG welding, and it has 5 AC waveforms to choose from, including the all-new industry-first trapezoid. Check out all the great features at everlastwelders.com, and be sure to use Arc Junkies in the comment section at checkout to get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. Now let's get back to the show. But you still got to go cut all your materials, punch all your holes. Unless you're cutting everything on CNC.
That's
but I mean, like,
processor.
if you don't have deep enough pockets,
that's the thing. Like, how far do you go?
I mean, what's the price to entry? Is that affordable? For my business, is that a realistic goal right now? Am I going to go bankrupt buying all this new technology, and now I can't afford to, justify the payments?
Yeah, like we come here, we do these things, and we look at all this technology. And I'm not going to lie, I go home to my garage and I got a drill press from 1950 that I bought on an auction.
Yeah.
And I keep that thing going, and it up. Like, I mean, I can pile through steel on that thing, and it's like, is it really viable, and where's that line? We want people to have the skills. Skills take time. Mm-hmm. Machines take away that skill, but it also adds time. So then, like, you want to do it all. Money's probably the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be within your budget. You got to be able to afford it and justify it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you brought up a good point. I mean, I've talked to a lot of employers lately that they're going through applications. You've talked about this in the past. They've been in the industry 5-10 years and can't read a freaking tape measure. Yeah. How are you out there building stuff, putting things together, and can't read a tape measure? That's one of the first things that I talk about on day one in class is like, today we're going to learn how to read a tape measure. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, I don't need to learn. I know how to read a tape measure. Cool, take this test. Mm-hmm. And then I grade the test. It's like, turns out 80% of y'all in the class lied that you know how to read a tape measure because I got the grades right here. So that's where we're going to start.
Yeah. Or you're out in the work site and hey, go measure this to come back. And what is it? That's about 42 inches. What do you mean about? What do you mean about? That's not a number.
Go cut about 42 on the saw.
What are you talking about?
Just shy of 42.
Yeah, or 3 ticks.
Three ticks past the big mark.
Oh my God! And like you said, so they've been in the field for a while, and they somehow have done that. And think about the inefficiencies. They cut things, and then they go and they're like, I mean, we're blessed that we're in welding. If it's too short,
just add a little bit more to it.
We need to just fill it in there, right? Too long, cut it again, right? But that's on both sides, wasted consumables, wasted time. Either way, you're losing something, right?
Yeah, I cut it twice. It's still too short. But I mean, like you brought up earlier, I think there's also a big disconnect between, like you said, industry and education and technology.
That's right.
So I mean, you've got technologies moving faster than industry. Industry's playing hell to keep up, and then schools are still teaching oxy fuel welding.
Yeah.
Like how do we fix that?
Well, I got an example from when I was working for a big ag company in Canada. We're talking like 1,500 welders. This is a massive ag company. The sales rep came from Lincoln and was like, hey, we got this new machine. And the salesmen do the salesman thing, right? They pitch the new machine and you're going to save on consumables, save on this, better fumes, blah, 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 all these things. And the company was like, yeah, this sounds awesome. We're going to order 700 of these machines, $2.5 million. Like, let's do this. We're going to put them on, jib so we can slide them around. We can get the big, barrels of wire, and we're going to do the whole thing right in there. So they go through the whole thing. They didn't spend a cent on training on how to use those machines. So they bought $2.5 million of machines, disrupted the entire flow of the shop for people to turn it on day one and set it to the exact same setting
that they had on the other machine.
And not use a single feature and not know what a single button on that damn thing does. So there's a huge disconnect between, the office, sales, technology, and then the actual floor. The people that are going to pick up that MIG torch or that gun and pull the trigger all day long, right? It's not any better now, right? No. Unless you actually do the things it's meant to do.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing with other schools. I walk into another school, they got the brand new Lincoln 300C. It's got like 460 different welding processes on it, and they're still running mode 5 short circuit.
Yeah.
You could have done that.
Number 9 is gouging.
I was like,
don't ask me why I know that so well.
I heard if you're good with gouging, you got to cut out a lot of welds.
Well, I blew up a machine gouging. I got mad at Lincoln because they're like, I blew up your 350. And he's like, how'd you do that? I'm like, well, I was gouging. And he's like, you're not supposed to gouge with it. I'm like, it's number 9.
Why would you make that mode?
If you don't want me to gouge with it, why is there a preset for it? I was like, hey, CAC. Cool.
Hey, question. Have you ever gouged on CV?
Just straight up
CV mode,
just MIG CV, voltage,
essentially, but arc gouging with CV.
No, what would be the benefit?
It's like 8 decibels quieter.
8 decibels quieter.
8 to 15 decibels quieter.
But
so
then
instead of wearing earplugs,
won't it just shut off because it's not going to jump the arc now because you got controlled voltage?
Essentially, you got to touch the material anyway as you're cutting through. You're making constant contact the whole time. I'm only asking because ESOP was telling me, they're like, oh yeah, our new constant carbon arc gouging and everything with CV. And I was like, wait a minute, CV? He's like, yeah, we carbon arc gouge on CV. And I was like, that's new. Like, how do you adjust your amps with that? And he goes, you don't. You adjust your voltage. And the amp is predetermined inside the machine based off your voltage. It out. Yeah. So it's kind of like a synergic mode with MIG welding, but you just adjust your CV or your volts, and it adjusts your amperage as you're going through. I guess he said they can't give you a hard number because, the way that you carbon arc gouge, it's not consistent the whole time. Yeah. It's different. You can mechanize it. Yeah. I would say you could mechanize it, and then they could figure out the real hard data. Yeah. They're freaking running carbon arc with CV.
I can see that being good for pushing because it's going to maintain voltage. So you'll never actually touch if you just pile in. Yeah. But I see it being bad if you pull away because it's not going to increase the voltage to maintain the arc unless it does. Right.
Yes, and it does.
Technology, unless it's just like synergic. It's like, oh, you're getting away, I'll bump you up or whatever, right?
You're long arcing it. Okay, I'm going to make internal adjustments. Are you getting too close? Okay, I'm going to back your voltage down.
Huh. Plasma gouging, all the way. That's all we do. Plasma gouge. Yeah. We do have a carbon arc, and we've used it one time in the last year. But plasma gouging, love it.
Faster, cleaner, cheaper. What do you love about it?
Easier to use, faster. Well, not so much faster. It's easier to use. It's a lot cleaner.
The slag isn't as sticky on there.
Yeah. We can knock off wear pads, and they're basically ready for 718 right over top of it.
Well, you got the taper tip too, that kind of keeps you right on track, and you just push through and blows everything out the back.
Yeah, it's really, really nice for what we do.
It sucks doing it in vertical.
Yeah, overhead is it's pretty rough.
Gouging is still gouging at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I did a video on that, and I was like, this already sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, we did a gouging video with Cavatar with their cameras. Actually, that was the best footage we ever got.
Dude, those cameras are insane.
Yeah, we're leaving here with one.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Don't you already have one? Isn't that how you're shooting your videos now?
Don't worry about what I have.
Okay, I'm not going to worry about it, eh?
No, we got. We're going to be filming some videos next week with Guy. Yeah, Guy Green from. He's what's his name on online? Yeah, Sewing with Fire.
Okay, I got you.
Sewing with Fire. Yeah, we're going to do some videos with him next week in Milton at headquarters. So
cool.
No, actually Hamilton at the Ironworkers Hall. Yeah, pulling in the old ironworker favors.
Yeah. So speaking of plasma, did you guys get a chance to check out OTC's new welding process?
No.
I don't think it's new. It's plasma welding. You check it out?
Yes, we did.
So tell me about it, because I've been wanting to swing by all day week, and I
didn't
just
get
not had a
to go
chance.
by.
So it just so I'm going to do a terrible job at this, but it has a secondary cup that goes around the tungsten, and it concentrates the gas flow right around that. And I think you can weld thicker material at lower amperage, which helps with a lot with the distortion of it. And it, like we did it on AC, and usually when you light up on AC, you got that big wide fan. It's super tight. Like we were like on 316s, our, what was it, 1/16 filler wire we were using, and the welds are coming out 1/8 inch wide. It was awesome.
So small.
Yeah.
Are you running handheld filler, or is it like a Fed?
Handheld filler, yeah.
Is it still oxygen?
I don't know.
Because how would you weld when you're blowing oxygen at something at that velocity?
No, argon.
Oh, so you're running argon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be argon. I'm pretty sure it was argon. There's a secondary flow meter for, I believe. And
So you got two different pressures of argon coming in?
I think so.
Okay.
One for like pilot and one for go.
Yeah.
Something.
It's loud. It sounded a little real high frequency, but it was actually pretty cool.
That sounds rad.
Yeah.
Like I've heard about plasma welding forever, and I've never done it.
Yeah, it's literally it's been around for decades.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've known about plasma. We have plasma machines, and it's a heat source, so why not? But I was always like, you use you use air. I shouldn't say oxygen. You use air. How are you going to blast 80 pounds of air into a fresh weld and be like, that's good?
Yeah.
That's like the opposite of what we are trying to do, right?
Yeah.
But if they're using argon, my brain goes through like, what are you going to go through a tank every 2 hours though? But apparently, like sounds like they got it figured out.
Yeah. Well, allegedly, when you crank your frequency up high enough on AC, it's very similar to plasma welding. Because I know on like the Aspect 375s, you can crank that. You can just mess around with it and piss everybody off. You can crank the frequency up to like 2,000 hertz and like just blow through that stuff.
Yeah.
It's loud, but I mean, like it's more suited for a robotic application. You really can't do a good job handheld, but it's pretty slick.
Go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
I want to mess with it.
I haven't had almost any time to check out the floor this week. That's been my experience, and it's too bad. Better than Atlanta for me, though.
Yeah.
But at least I got some time. But, I got to do a little bit of checking. We go look at the suppliers right away and shake the hands of people that support us, and we do that, and that eats up a lot of the time. But I did see a little bit of the tech. I've been looking at the schools. That's my interest. I'm trying to talking to the educational institutions that come to FabTech and set up booths and go talk to them and see like if there's something I can do to help them out and figure it out. Because I still always try to wrap my head around, the training systems here in the U.S. are so different from Canada, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to learn about how they work and how they do, and if there's opportunities both ways, to help here or to bring some of that back to Canada, right? So, I talked to the Hobart Welding Institute, which I kind of ignored the last 2 years because I was like, Hobart, you're just Miller. And then I went and talked to them. They're like, we have nothing to do with ITW or Miller. And I was like, oh, you're
have
just
my
called
attention.
Hobart? And they're like, yeah, we're like, and they have like a not-for-profit program and programs for like underprivileged kids and stuff. And I was like, okay, now you really
They
got
got
my
like
attention.
80 booths in there.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like we need to talk. Like this is like, what do you use for curriculum? It's like, well, we just kind of pick from here and there and all over the place. It's like, I could probably help you with that. I could probably put some really nice stuff in your hands if you reach out to me. And so that's the kind of connections I'm looking for, kind of like the education stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the questions we got. So I did that podcast this morning with Charlie Cross and Derek Bean about WPSs, WPQRs, SWPSs, like all that stuff. And one of the questions at the end was, how do we get more welding instructors to utilize WPSs? Well, first of all, you got to teach them how to use a WPS.
Yeah.
And they were asking, like, why don't we have a standard like that here in the States? And Canada does, because they're ran by the CWB, which is government funded. And they say, hey, if you're going to teach welding anywhere on any of the provinces, here's how you're going to do it. Here's the criteria you have to meet. We can't do that down here because we have too many different codes. We got API, ASME, D11, and ISO 9000 for international standards. So like, there's really no governing body.
Yeah, yeah, and people
And it sucks.
People pick and choose what they need.
Yeah.
I see the benefit. I look at the way things are done down here in the U.S. and
It's like a la carte.
Yeah, I do see it. It's like a la carte. Exactly. That's a great way of putting it. Like, I got this company. We build these things, so I only need that one, and that one, and I can roll, right? Whereas in Canada, it's like you need to buy the buffet before you can even walk in the door. You need to have them all. right? Or you need to be fully certified before you can even call yourself certified. Not just a couple guys on the floor, like the whole damn, you know.
But look what it does for your graduates.
Oh,
they can leave Canada and go anywhere worldwide, and that red seal is recognized.
Yeah.
You know, if I get a D11 stick test cert, you know, like, and I fly over to Germany, they were like, oh, that's cool. Go come back when you get your red seal.
100%. Yeah. And that mobility is something that we see a lot.
And then look at the pay difference. I mean, you guys get paid much better than we do down here because you're a fully certified welder. So, like, every welder going into the industry, they know their worth.
Well, with the shortages now, like, it's getting insane. We're looking at $80, $100 an hour in Canada right now for welders, and that's insane. I mean, it makes me look at my job now and be like,
Didn't you try to get back into ironwork for about 40 hours?
I did a full shutdown. I lasted the full shutdown, but let me tell you,
For the day, or
no, it was a 3-week shutdown, 16-hour days. It was a long one, and there was no in and out because it was just a 3-week shutdown, so we just ran it through. But let me tell you, going back to do a shutdown after 10 years at the age of 44. Not so good.
Podcast Max isn't built for that no more.
I was hurt.
I'm not
I
either.
was hurt. And plus, I was there on a permit, right? So I was there on a permit. So you don't get treated like royalty on a permit. It's like, hey, you carry that upstairs. I'm like, me? The fat old guy? I was like, oh, man.
Take this cylinder 7 stories up.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I made my money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the ironworkers.
Yeah.
Ironworks
is good.
Yeah, you wore your pen the other day, and I forgot. I should have brought my pen. You know.
We should trade pens one day. Actually, no, I'm keeping mine.
Yeah,
I'll figure out a way to get one.
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't given you a CWB pin yet.
What is? No, I don't have a pen. Come on. I thought we were friends.
I got one for you, my.
Got to get him a chest to pin it on first.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Did you guys see the light weld?
Yes, I did that.
So I've always been kind of like leery of that technology. I was like, I want to see some macros. But my buddy Rob actually did a piece, and in a couple spots got a little over penetration. So I mean, it shows you that it actually works. It's burning into that material.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool, awesome for thin gauge sheet metal. Apparently not.
Up to 3/8.
Up to 3/8.
Yeah.
Material thickness. And it's fast.
But it's the width and the deposition rate that is still a struggle. Because deposition rate is deposition rate, and it doesn't really matter what power source going in. It's inches per minute at the end of the day we care about. So if the lasers look so good, but if you had a 3/8 plate with a V groove in there,
it's going to take you all day to fill it up.
72 passes. Like, I mean, beautiful welds and they're clean and everything, but I mean, you're only dropping in an eighth at the time.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get to London in a rowboat.
Yeah, that's right. So, but that's going to get fixed. Like, I mean, the technology is going to come around that. Same when I was talking to Rob about that, like all the demos, all the IPG stuff. IPG is a Canadian company, so like that technology 4 years ago was just starting, and now look at it. It's huge, right? But I still see every demo ever done in a straight line. And I asked once, I'm like, well, can I try on a pipe? And he was like,
don't ask that question.
Yeah, not so good in a circle because it's got to have that perfect angle, right? And so, like, if you even deviate a little bit, it just like spits it out.
That's what Daniel Adams, Fokker Fabs, was asking him because he does chassis and stuff, roll cages for like off-road vehicles. And he's like, this would be perfect for what I'm doing, but can I go in a circle around a tube? And the guy's like, yeah, not yet. We're not there.
Yeah. But
because that tip actually has to, there's no workpiece clamp. That tip has to touch the material to make the connectivity.
And both sides.
Yeah.
If it only hits one, it only welds to the one. Yeah. It won't jump the arc.
But it's still pretty impressive for the amount of speed. I mean, if you're doing a lot of sheet metal work and stuff like that,
like it's weird how fast it gets.
Yeah. And it looks good after you're done, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, that was actually surprisingly easy.
Yeah.
With the wire feeder, it actually pushes you. And I had a problem because I was like, I wanted to control it. And they're like, just let it do its thing. And the wire feeder just pushed it out, and it came out beautiful until I was like, started to push on it a little bit, and then it just went to crap. I ruined it.
And you can't weave either.
No, it's just straight line.
Thank God.
Like no articulation, no nothing. And I am generally against the weave. Stringers is best. We all know that, right? Right? Everyone knows that, right? Oh, yeah, we got a baby over there.
Some crossways.
He's got the 8-inch weave going on. It takes 3 rods just to make it across one.
Weave it wide and wish it well.
If I can jump it, I can weld it. Is that what it is? Yeah.
That's for gaps, yeah. If I can step over it, I can weld it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes part 1 of the Podcasters Forum. Be sure to tune in to the Welding Business Owners Podcast for part 2, being released on Monday, October 30th. and the CWB Association Podcast for Part 3 on Monday, November 6th. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.